Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffery Combs, President and Founder, Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. It is 2 Tuesday. Welcome, everyone. It is my privilege and pleasure to be here with you on Tuesday, August 16th. Welcome to Facebook Live. Topic for today's Facebook Live is intuition consciousness. I will let the Facebook Live populate, and then I will move into the inspirational portion of today's Facebook Live. Welcome, everyone. Sporting the colors of black, silver, and gold. Let's see, that's right there, black, silver, and gold. So welcome. It is good to be here with you. Let's see, was that Scott Lucas? Welcome, Scott. Did I see Jesse Johnson? Welcome and good afternoon. Topic for today's Facebook Live is intuition consciousness. Jared, good to see you this afternoon. Intuition means in the know. So in the know is also trust. So the topic for today's Facebook Live is really belief, trust, knowing, understanding, and awareness. This book right here is great content specifically for this content that I'm covering. And I read David Hawkins 7 days a week. As you can see over my shoulder, I have, a bookcase there and multiple bookcases throughout my house with hundreds of books. In my library for the last several years, I read exclusively David Hawkins, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, Ken Keyes, and then other quantum healing experts, naturopathic, home doctoring, and breathing, releasing, and letting go. So that's primarily what I read for business, self-improvement, sobriety, recovery, and consciousness. And so today, the more that you can be and stay in your intuition, meaning in the know. And when you know, now you're in truth. So in recovery, in any level of recovery, emotional recovery, codependent recovery, drugs, alcohol, chronic debting, spending, any multitude of situations that you've had emotional addiction challenges with, the first breakthrough that you would experience is called honesty. So that would be an acceptance, surrender, and letting go. I spend a great deal of my time assisting people who have different levels of successes. Now, you can be successful and still be emotionally addicted to a set of feelings. Joseph David Shermer, Tracy, Aaron, and Carl, good to see you. I'm covering the topic of intuition consciousness. And the point where I am right now is specifically assisting people to understand the term payoff. Because if you do not understand the payoff, then you will recreate the same situation over and over. And then in your analytical egoic mind, you'll be in the state of wonderment going over the same topic. This doesn't make sense. But when you move into a state of knowing, when you're intuitional, when you intuit, when you understand, when you know and you are aware, then you're not in denial. You're not in this state of, I don't understand this. This doesn't make sense. Why do I do this? And then the probability of you relapsing begins minimized because the pleasure isn't worth the pain. So that means you've crossed the emotional bridge and you start to anchor yourself in belief, which is sense of certainty. However, if you're not good enough, you don't believe in yourself, well, that's the whole contradiction that you begin to resolve as soon as possible. So your results yesterday, or what has happened to you in the past, your successes or lack of successes in the past is what you let go of. You let go of past failures, past relationships, and situations that do not empower you and do not serve you. That doesn't mean you deny them, but it means you accept the situation for what they are and you begin to let them go. Letting go means separating feelings from the events that shape them. So you're not in anxiety, fear, and doubt. And the emotions that you're learning to address are anger, hate, resentment, guilt, shame, abandonment, rejection, overwhelmed feelings, grief, apathy, and pride. Now, when you know, that is certainty. And so when you become consciously aware, and if you are a truther, a patriot, or you are someone who believes you understand what's going on in the world, and you've read content and books, and then you start to download the content. And when you see this flash across a news source or a news site, or you hear about this, and then instead of going into wonder what that means, when you go into the know, when you know that, when you understand problem, reaction, solution. A problem is created to create a public reaction, and then whoever creates this problem has the solution. And then you will find out that the more that this problem, reaction, solution is created, you're losing more and more civil liberties. Then you will understand what this is really about. And the more that you know, the more that you understand, the more that you are aware, then you're not in an emotionally intoxicated state. You're not in fight or flight. You're not in hypervigilance. You're not in brain fog. You know. And when you know now, when you're in the know, in the now, you can become a lot more resourceful, innovative, and creative. You're able to adapt and adjust. You're much more flexible. You're not in your head asking yourself the same question. This doesn't make sense. Why do I do this? When you become honest with yourself, you know why you do it. You know that there's a payoff you derive that keeps you from being your best self. You know that you're doing it because you don't want to be responsible. You know that you do it to avoid being successful. And instead of going, well, that doesn't make sense, it does. It's not about making sense. It's about being honest. Nicole, good to see you. Dana, Susan, love you, Susan. Love to see so many of you on today's Facebook Live. Nicole, it was my honor to be your coach last year. I'm covering the topic of intuition. So in intuition, there is a space between your brain, where your vagus nerve is, and then it connects down here in your gut. And so there's the vagus nerve goes down behind your neck, goes down around your back, comes up underneath your stomach, and it's in your gut. Hence the term gut feeling. And so the gut feeling that you know, if you go against that, that's the contradiction you were taught by one of your parents or whoever you grew up with. Because when you were a brilliant child and then you got criticized for being brilliant and creative, it dumbs you down. And that numbing down effect is what creates the feelings of not being good enough. And then if you've been traumatized, victimized, violated, sexually abused, physically abused, singled out, hazed, traumatized, kidded, and all these other situations, that leads to fight or flight, hypervigilance, and brain fog with an amygdala that enlarges. A prefrontal cortex is where you discern that has shrunk, and then the hippocampus, which is your memory, and then you say, I don't remember, I have a horrible memory. And then when someone asks you a question, your ability to recall is impaired because of the brain fog you're in. It's the hypervigilance fight or flight syndrome that most of society lives in. And then in that state of unconscious consciousness, we attract perpetrators, violators, people who disappoint us, and then we attract people that we over-obligate, enable, and do too much for to fulfill the neurochemical craving of being disappointed. And in disappointment, there is no intuition, because you have lost capacity or faculty to be able to discern. This is where you lose your intuition because of brain fog. And it absolutely, unequivocally can be reconnected. So the neurons that wire and fire that form your present feelings, those can be let go of. But only with diligence, not by a hope and a prayer. What you're teaching yourself is how to interrupt a feeling in mid-moment. So when I'm coaching my clients and I point out to them that their sentences are filled with kinda, guess, and I don't know. And there are people who put the I don't know words, they run it into one word, I don't know, I-D-U-N-N-O-K-N-O-W. They make it one word, I don't know, and then they put it in their sentences. Be aware of these people, pay attention, be attentive to how many Americans, Canadians, Australians use that, I don't know, and they put it in like it's a comma, a period, an exclamation point. So what are you saying when you're walking around the planet going, I don't know? It means you're saying, I don't know. I don't know. It means that you believe you don't know. And what does it mean when you put guess in a sentence? It means you're guessing. It means you're not certain. How can you be an Indian level of intuition when you're in brain fog a large percent of your life? The answer is you don't. And so that inhibits your ability to trust. And so the relationship that you tell yourself you want, well, you will sabotage that, because that would contradict who you are right now. If you're not worthy and not good enough, well, a healthy relationship would contradict that. And if you want this business over here and you actually put forth the effort and you produce the results, well, that would contradict your struggle trauma bonds. That would absolutely change your whole life. And even though your ego would say, well, that's stupid, it's not. It's understanding that you do this to create this, and that is the payoff. And until you have clarity on that, until you understand this, you will recreate the same situation over and over to fulfill the cardio cocktail, the adrenaline cortisol connection. That's the instant gratification that you get for the shame on the back end of it to fulfill the disappointment. And what does this mean? It means you have challenges trusting, believing, being aware, knowing, and understanding. That's what happens in brain fog. Brain fog is a direct reflection of long-term trauma that's held on to, belief systems of not being good enough, relationships that are highly dysfunctional, where the conflict, the drama, the chaos, the guilting, the shaming, the not good enough continues to perpetuate over and over. And then you're 20, 30, 40, 50, you have an enlarged amygdala, and you have challenges discerning. So discernment comes from the prefrontal cortex of the brain. That's where you discern. Discern means know. And this is why so many people have challenges with commitment. They commit but uncommit. They buy but they unbuy. And so this is why you'll have people that they sign up in a business with you, but then they disappear. Or they promise to buy a product and they check out. And it's your responsibility to understand why people do this. Because people are predictable. And when you know that, see, that's your intuition, then you don't personalize it. You're not making it about you. You're not in a wonderment of why does this happen? And then instead of wondering why you relapse, you know why you relapse. You relapsed because it fulfills the neurochemical craving you're emotionally addicted to, disappointment, and you do it over and over to fulfill those feelings. It requires a person that is really committed to let go of a trauma bond. It requires a tremendous level of commitment to address an addiction. This is why very few people live in emotional sobriety, because of the degree of difficulty. The difficulty is not physical. The difficulty is changing a behavior. The difficulty is changing a reflex. So if you automatically, someone asks you a question, or you witness this, you ask someone a question, and every time you ask them a question, the sound that comes out of their mouth is Well, that's a reflex. So is not even a word, it's a sound. That means that's the hypervigilance fight or flight, and they're going up and out, and then it takes them 3 or 4 seconds to be able to find the energy to be able to say what they think they should say, and there's no intuition in that. That is the analytical egoic left brain. That's validating, justifying, explaining. That is not intuiting it. That is not into it. Into it is trust. It's the gut feeling. Intuition also creates a higher level of synchronicity. I mean, here's a perfect example. I was watching the whole Anne Hesh situation that was happening throughout the week. Now, I'm not a big fan of hers, and I never really was a big fan of hers. But I don't have one movie with her in a movie. I don't have one. I have over 500 movies in my collection. And I decided to watch a movie with my wife on Monday night after I'd been studying the facts of that whole case that started on August 5th and ended on August 12th, which is the end of Lionsgate. So keep that in context. 8/8 is a very significant date in Lionsgate, and 8/12 is another significant date in Lionsgate. So I picked one movie out of a collection of 500 movies, and the movie I decided to watch with my wife is I Know What You Did Last Summer. And voila, who has fifth bill in that movie? Anne Hesh. Now what the fuck? What is the probability of that happening? I didn't even know she was in the movie, but she had fifth billing. Freddie Prinze, Jennifer Lee Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar, and Ryan Phillippe had the 4 leads, and number 5 was Anne Hesh. What are the odds of that happening? That is called synchronicity. It means I was on to something is what it means. That means I was into it. It means I was knowing. So in watching that case beyond mainstream media, I was asking myself, what does this really mean? What is this really about? And for those of you who follow this type of content phenomenon, you will also know, because that's what knowing is. And I'm just giving you one example. So when I see this over here, I don't follow the mainstream media and go, oh, because I ask myself, what does it really mean? What is the meaning of this? What is the cause? What is the purpose? What is the seduction? What is really happening here? And the more you can question situations and move into the know of higher knowing, then you know. And the value of knowing is then you'll attract your reality other people who seek being in the knowing. Now you're talking about a mastermind alliance, one or more of like mind coming together for common causes. And you want to be able to reverse the people that you have been attracting, the codependent people who you've been in conflict with, codependent people that do not show you the love and support you require. You require people of higher consciousness who have clarity, who have quality of purpose, who have a definite of a purpose, people who are in alignment with you. You want the alignment that you seek to be in anyway. And as you begin to separate your feelings from the events that shape them, as you begin to let go, this is what you'll be doing. You'll be transcending consciousness. Now, the more that you move above anxiety, fear, and doubt, as you begin to live much more present, as you begin to live day to day in the present, operating on what you can create today, you're living in the solution, creating results, you're breathing and releasing in a relaxed body, letting go of past regret and future anxiety, then you're here and now. And in that state of awareness, now your intuition will be enhanced much more. And as you begin to activate the reticular activating system that searches for new familiar feelings, feelings of love, joy, bliss, enlightenment, empowerment, as you start to access these words rather than kinda, guess, I don't know, sorta, probably, if I had to say, I'm not sure. As you let go of all these terms of non-commitment and non-surety, and you move into a much more no statement, then you're in your power. And when you're in your power, the power of non-physical power, but the emotional etherical power of certainty, belief, enlightenment, intuition, and then extrasensory perception. Now, when you're in extrasensory perception, you are virtually creating on command. The parking space is available, the seat gets upgraded, people buy from you on command. You'll find a $100 bill on the freeway or something. It'll happen more frequently because there's an occlusal alignment that begins to happen when you're in intuition. When you live intuitively, when you live empathically, when you live in the now, in the know, your alignment changes. People begin to show up differently. Situations, circumstances show up differently. It is an amazing phenomenon that begins to happen in this level of alignment. And when you're in the KNOW, that is certainty, that is belief. When you believe what you believe and you're solid in that belief, you'll attract other people who believe what you believe. And that's what's happening in this great divide in the last going on 3 years here. If you're certain in the know, you're going to attract more people like you. And there are more and more people that are becoming alive, aware, they're waking up, they see what's going on, and they're much more in attunement. And there's a lot of people that are looking for what you have when you're accessing your own brilliance. But when you're playing small and you're way down here, just barely getting by, vibrating below courage and anxiety, fear, and doubt, hanging on by the thread, just barely hanging on, barely paying your bills, barely getting by, just tiptoeing quietly through life, waiting to get to your grave safely. That's where a large percent of the world is. Then those people just play small. But when you're ready to let go, it opens up a whole portal for you. And that portal of enlightenment is available for you, where you can actually start to access your power, where you can start to be in the now, in the know. When your creativity comes back, your emotional intelligence starts to improve, your intuition becomes enhanced, your ability to see the outcome before it happens, your vision, your passion, the energy shifts and changes. You start to feel alive, and you change your diet. You start to eat a much better diet. You let go of sugars and toxins and other situations that no longer serve you. You have clearer boundaries with the people that you allow to be and stay in your life. You address your codependency. You're enabling, over-obligating, and doing more for others than you do for yourself. And it also allows you to receive at a much higher level of consciousness. You're receiving the content. You're able to receive prosperity. You feel less guilty and ashamed. And you don't question yourself as much because now you know. That's the value of being able to access your intuition. And when you're in that level of power, you will attract your reality on a more frequent, occlusal alignment, people who believe what you believe. Now, if you're in sales, branding, and marketing, it'll show up and you'll have customers who will buy like this more frequently. Or if you're in a business of attraction marketing, you'll have people in higher levels of consciousness show up, ready to join you, purchase products, be part of a community, be able to contribute, collaborate. You want to be able to look for the signs and the clues. Attraction is a skill. It's not luck, it's a skill. And you're going to attract in a much higher level of emotional frequency in consciousness rather than anxiety, fear, and doubt. And the more you understand how that happens and you practice that, and you're not in fear of missing out, you're not in overwhelm, you're not worried about the outcome that hasn't happened, and you focus on results, the solution, and you have clarity, then that's your trust, that's your intuition, because now you know. If you're on today's Facebook Live, my Facebook Live here today for the first time, hit the like button. It will put you in the feed where you will see the updates for the Facebook Lives. I host Facebook Lives twice on Tuesday, 9 o'clock Pacific in the evening and 1 o'clock Pacific in the daytime. Monday through Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. Pacific, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 6 p.m. Pacific. So those are my Facebook Lives that I host every single day. That is right, James Jordan. Attraction is a skill. It's not luck. So attraction is an absolute skill. Being able to attract producers, being able to attract people of influence and affluence, people who have net worth, networks, it's an absolute skill. And the more skilled you become at it, and the more aligned you are in it, it enhances the law of averages. If you're watching today's content and you are a former client and are not presently coaching with me, feel free to reach out to me and ask me about my 22-hour package for 11 months that I am offering. That's if you're a former client or existing client you want to add on your existing coaching, feel free to reach out to me. If you're first time watching my content and would like to receive a free 20-minute coaching call, go right up there in Facebook Messenger or wherever Messenger is in your device or your computer and request a free 20-minute coaching call with me. I'll be back here tonight at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. This is a book that can greatly assist you with enhancing your intuition, transcending levels of consciousness. Have a great afternoon, everyone.